Welcome back, people. Welcome back. Who would have thought on the day that Liverpool draw Real Madrid in the Champions League knockout stages, there will be more things to talk about apart from that? Who would have thought that a couple of hours later, we would have to do a stream trying to gauge and work out what is going on? Omar, Cav, people, an eventful Monday to say the very least. Omar, we've done a stream about Real Madrid and Liverpool, and we spoke about the Champions League draw. I guess that pales into insignificance right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think pretty much any news regarding Liverpool would have been insignificant because, damn, I just could not see this coming. Personally, it was out of the blue. So I don't know if you guys saw it coming, but yeah, like I was just settling down from the fact that we have to face Real Madrid. I was still in a bit of a state of shock, and now I've just entered another state of shock where I'm like, FSG want to sell the club. So here we are, trying to come back down to earth with Grizz and Cav. Can't go wrong, can we?
While you get up the statement and everything around it, obviously the great Dave Ornstein first breaks this. Cav, your initial instant reactions to the news that ultimately, and we'll get into it, ultimately FSG are willing to sell, and that's the key. I think that's the most accurate thing right now, that they're willing to sell.
Yeah. In fairness to Ohms, he's the first man that dropped a line to me, and then all the WhatsApps and groups went a bit mental. But I got excited, and I've no idea why, because I hadn't even processed it yet. But it's big. We can't underestimate how big it is, because anything that can happen to your club, sign players, get managers, lose players, lose managers, expand stadiums, this and that, it all comes down to what your owners want to do, what their strategy is for the club, timescales on strategies, investment, everything that your club does is obviously dictated by the people that own the club. So when that changes or potentially changes, of course, it's bigger than any Champions League draw or any upcoming transfer window or anything that could possibly happen. So big news, a bit out of the blue. And yeah, after a Champions League draw, I thought we weren't going to get, hear of anything this week other than maybe preview the derby game. But this is huge. And what we need to do now is understand it, don't we? We need to understand what the scale of it is, what it actually means, and what could potentially happen, which is what we're hopefully going to help people out with now.
Absolutely. Look, it is out of the blue. It is out of the blue, but I did have inklings about it. I don't know if you've checked the WhatsApp group. I was told of sort of possible investment. I was of the understanding they didn't want to outright sale, but they were absolutely open to investment, exploring other ways of creating revenue. But this, to me, guys, now, Ohms, shall we get the statement up? So this is the actual statement. Let me just quickly give a shout out to a new channel member. Big up yourself, Nilak Pal. Thank you very much, my friend. I will be repeating some of the perks later on a different show as well. Gemma says, Grizz, is this news FSG looking for third-party investors, or are they selling up? It's slightly confused the way it's been reported. These kind of things will always be confusing because nobody will want to reveal their hands in terms of any potential negotiations, bids, valuations, anything like that. There will be carefully worded statements, ambiguous maybe even, Cav, right? And Ohms, right? There will be. Sometimes it's not about, sometimes it's a strategy almost from different sections of the media who will be in favor of certain groups, and then other media. This is the way of the wicked world, especially in the way of media. Let me make that very clear to people. Whoever is saying something will have their own angle and their own benefit. So we won't know for sure, but Ellen Ladd says, Grizz, who do you reckon will bid for us? I think there will be plenty of bidders for us. Let me make that very clear. But let's go for the actual statement from the actual FSG group, Fenway Sports Group. So this is not a journalist giving his opinion. This is not a journalist being told, I've been told. This is FSG's actual statement. And what does it say? It says there have been a number of recent changes at ownership and rumors of ownership and rumors of changes in ownership at EPL clubs. Inevitably, we are asked regularly about our ownership. So basically, they're saying there's been loads of changes. We get asked, what is our situation? What is our state of play? FSG has frequently received expressions of interest from third parties seeking to become shareholders in Liverpool. We know this. I've reported it in the past. So many companies and people have tried to invest in us. FSG has said before that under the right terms and conditions, we would consider new shareholders if it was in the best interest of Liverpool as a club. FSG remains fully committed to the success of Liverpool, both on and off the pitch. What do you make about this statement? Because this is an actual statement from FSG. It's not an opinion piece. As I said, it's not a journalist giving his opinion on it. This is FSG talking to the world.
For me, it's the wording straight away. They're not gonna. I don't think they'd ever really, in terms of trying to get max value out of the club, openly say, yeah, we want to sell whatever. But quite frankly, that middle paragraph where they say they've had interest from third parties seeking to become shareholders, under the right terms and conditions, they would consider new shareholders. It points to that, yeah, they are open to an entire sale. Like I don't know what their intentions are right now, only they do, but at the very least, one, they wouldn't release a statement like this if they were looking just for minority investment. And two, if they're looking for something, they're looking to sell, or they're looking to hand over the large majority of ownership at the very least to someone else. So basically, whatever they're looking for, they are open to new owners, and they've got to obviously come out with a statement like this because they don't want to say, yeah, we're looking we're looking to be bought, because that would just devalue you just immensely. So yeah, it's weirdly worded, and I understand people are confused about it or whatever, but yeah, it's still very early, and I think this will be a long process. I don't know how long, but hey, we saw how long it took to buy Newcastle, but then equally some clubs are just bought like that. So yeah, I think they're keeping it open for interpretation deliberately, just to see what essentially occurs out of this.
I'm gonna go a bit not opposite of Omar Kaf. I think, and I'm gonna give my reasons later. I'm not gonna speak about why I'm giving the reasons. I think this will move quicker than we think. That's just my reaction based on possibly what I know, but what I think as well. What's your opinion and take on it? Because this is quite the bombshell. Interesting timing, just before the World Cup, just before the January transfer window. The cynics will have their theories as well. Just massive, isn't it? This is massive.
Yeah. And just on this statement, I think it's so expertly put, to be honest with you, because it says so much through saying so little. So if we break it down, the first statement, they refer to the league in general. Well, why do they do that? I think it's because they're trying to get across that there's big investment coming into the league, big powers at play. We've seen the likes of Man City, Newcastle, the most recent. There's a lot of owners coming into this league that have such stronger financial situations than FSG do, and certainly what they would want to put into Liverpool. So what they're doing is they're identifying the situation. Okay. Yeah. So they're instantly telling us that the landscape of the league now and what you have to do to make a successful club is different to where they had the club when they first bought it 10 years or so ago. So they're explaining, or they're creating the landscape as to the reason why they might be looking to sell. Okay. They're letting up a little bit that they need to change their strategy, change an approach, have new investment or sell the club to be able to maintain what is a really tough league. Then the second statement is that they've identified, yes, people want to invest in Liverpool. Well, of course they do. They're a global brand. They're hugely successful. I mean, if given the opportunity, of course, you would want stakes in that business. That just goes without saying. It's not necessarily because it's Liverpool. It's just a successful business. So they've identified that they've had interest in the past. Okay. But they've not gone on to say, we're going to sell the club. We're looking to sell the club. Because no smart-minded businessman would
say that. That's absolutely right.
If I said to you, Grizz, I want to sell you this, I want to sell this apple, you instantly would go, okay, what do you value at? And then make me an offer below that value. Whereas if I just put it out there in the general atmosphere that I might be looking to sell, suddenly your negotiation bargaining is different. So what they do in that second statement is they're saying we've had previous interest, of course. But we always look at it from a sensible position. If we feel it will benefit the club, we'll take it. That's general. That's always the case. That's always the situation. But by saying something, it tells us that they're now thinking about it. Because if I come to you, Grizz, and I said, Anfield pitch, it's green, completely out the blue, you would go, well, okay, I know that. But then you start to think, well, why are you telling me that? Are you telling me that because you want to change the colour? Or you want to change the size, or why are you saying it? And that's what they're doing in that statement. They say they're not definitive in what they want to do, but by saying something, alarm bells start ringing, and then they can use their close media sources and what have you to release certain little nitbits of information. So I think this statement's brilliantly put, and I think it says enough to us fans that they're looking at it and that they're perhaps open to selling, but whether they're looking to completely sell or become minority holders or just have some third party come in and invest, they leave all them options open by this statement. So I think it's brilliantly put. But the timing is interesting. As you say, the World Cup's coming up. You've got a transfer window coming up. You've got perhaps time now during the World Cup where some of the smaller operations slow down. Of course, the manager's still there. The recruitment team is still there. You've still got, the staff around the training ground and the stadium and stuff. There's still operations going, but it slows. So what it allows you to do is do it in a quieter period, say, as opposed to a busy period in the middle of a season. And also, it means that fans now, if we hear this at the end of a season where we're going for a title or something, the reaction from fans is very different, as opposed to now where Liverpool Football Club won't be playing football. Fans will be watching the World Cup or nothing at all. So now they can concentrate on how it's received by fans and strategically put out what they want to in the media. So the timing's very interesting.
I think you've absolutely nailed, and I agree with a lot of your points. I'm going to address some of your points and get Omar's opinion on them. I'm just going to go for a few super chats. DJ says, Grizz, will you have the same energy if you stay owned? Same energy as what? Same energy as how? Quote, find me anything that I've spoken about state-owned clubs, and then I have something to refer to. I have no idea. I don't recall having an opinion on state-owned clubs. If you have found any clips of me or tweets of me, then I can refer to it. At the moment, that's just a stupid question because I haven't given my opinion on state-owned clubs. So what energy? Pimp in Distress says, come on, smash the likes, people. Reason to be positive. Big up, G. He's right. Smash the likes. Voice of Reason says, a lot of FSG's finances are based on borrowing at 0 to low % interest. With interest rates rocketing, they have no choice but to sell at this stage. Very good point, Cav, isn't that? That is very good point, especially in this day and age. Philip H says, big up, lads. As LFC are my second team, would love if you guys get taken over by rich owners like we did just to piss off Man United. Odds it happens? The odds are very, very, very high now. Robbie sends in a super chat, says FSG statement is showing some leg. Significant. Haven't said the club is not for sale. Don't believe this is looking for a minority interest. If it was why Liverpool rather than the wider FSG group. I tend to agree with that. Don't know what you guys think of this. I tend to agree with it.
Yeah, and let's just be clear, like FSG, they've identified that there's been interest in minority shareholders coming into the club. So they have no reason to put out a statement to drum up interest. They're putting out a state if they wanted just somebody to come in and invest in Liverpool, not just the FSG franchise and Redbird. If they want minority investment in Liverpool, they don't need to make a statement. They can do that all behind the scenes. So that's why I'm saying by releasing a statement, it clearly shows you that there's something bigger going on here, and that's why I think it's for sale.
Like when the Redbird thing happened, nothing, like it was just announced pretty much, or like we were told that Redbird were going to come in. Whereas like I think if you sort of want to read between the lines or just look at it evidently, David Ornstein wouldn't come out with such a bombshell like that if it weren't sort of actually there. So like they've just, like Cav said, they've just been clever really in terms of wanting to sort of maintain value of club and essentially saying, all right, here we are, let's see what you got, to literally however many people are coming in. They're keeping their cards close to their chest, and it's wise. And FSG, like they're no, like people think they're no mugs, right? They've proven to be some of, if not the smartest people in sport. And I think that genuinely in terms of the way they've run the Boston Red Sox and then how they've run Liverpool and the expansion upon that. Now, chat, before you guys, if anyone wants to lay into me, smartest people doesn't always mean they're like the richest or they can do everything. It just means with what they've had to now what they have is pretty impressive, and you cannot slate what they've done. So I think whatever happens, they will get a very good deal, and I think that will then sort of fall into what we as a club and as fans will get, which is either just something that we will sort of get excited behind.
Zuberi joins us. Welcome, Zuberi, to the stream. I know it's mad hours in the USA, but really appreciate you coming on, bro. Just remind us when you heard about this bombshell in the news, and just give us your initial instant reaction before we get into it deeper.
So I heard about this probably before the Bournemouth game, based on the way the window went. But I didn't think they was going to go public at the time. I think they was always looking for that right moment to go public. They didn't really want to go public with, let's say, 6 losses and 2 draws and 2 defeats. That's not really a good moment to want to sell the club, because people will think you're just down in tools because the whole system is going down.
Fair point.
So that's when I first heard about it, but it still never went public. So I've heard a lot of talk behind the scenes about the best way to approach it and when to approach it. And I think they are keeping their cards close to their chest, but that was my initial reaction. When I woke up and saw the official news.
Have you seen the statement? Have you seen the statement? Shall we bring it back up? Let's check out the statement. So this is the statement that we've just gone through, Zuberi, and me and Cav and Ohms were saying it's brilliantly worded. It's saying so much without saying anything real definitive.
Right. And that's what I think is very strategic. And I'm just sitting there like, I know a lot of people might come for me because, they view me as Mr. FSG.
Let them.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So that's why I also wanted to give my thoughts on it to let the people know where I stand. You can dissect this, I think, from like 3 different perspectives. And I've heard you guys touch on all 3 of them, to be fair to you guys. They can be minority owners, which is an option. They can write out sell, or they can just be like, okay, PR to get the fans quiet because no incomings is coming in January. Great little distraction, smoke screen, however you want to dissect it. Until the deal is done, we won't really know.
I think it's very strategic. I like your idea about the timing of everything. We know in business, everything is about timing, right, Cav? Especially in terms of buying and selling. Even though what I meant, someone was asking earlier on if I think the process is further down the line than we think. No, I don't think there's one party that is further down the line than anyone else. What I meant was in terms of the decision has been made. I don't think there's any doubt in my head that the decision has been made. And so therefore, the process or the speed of the next stage will depend on so many different factors. But Cav, you made a brilliant point in terms of it's the time of year where we can go about our business off the pitch smoothly and far more quietly, as there's no football being played, etc., with active games and all the pressures and things that go around it, right?
Yeah, and like the thing is with FSG, they've owned us for a long time, and over that time they've built us both on the pitch and off the pitch, right? And so they will care to a certain extent about how their fans see them and their legacy at the club. So
yeah,
I don't think they would want to go beyond January, where every single fan, I think, is screaming out for investment in this team.
This is key. This is key, Cav. That's a great point, and it's so key. Look how the relevancy of this now, because they know they've already seen the absolute uproar over the previous summer and now leading up to the January and the next summer, because they can see the momentum shift from the fan base. And these guys are smart people, right?
Yeah, so if you look at it, they've built the squad up to be one of the best squads in Europe. They've invested in the new training ground. We've got, I say they've invested, probably wrong terminology, but what I mean is the training ground, there's a new one. There's the 2 new stands, one that's almost complete. Revenue and income is it's all-time high for the club, I believe. So they've built this club and built it up over the years, and they've been watching and keeping a close eye on the new investors coming into the league, the new Champions League format and the whole Super League situation, how that might play out. And then they'd be looking at financial fair play and whether that is actually going to be honoured or it's going to be continued to be worked around by some of these big players in the league. And I feel like they'd have reached a point where they believe we've took this club to as high as they can. And to reach the next stage, you have to put a lot of investment into the squad now. And when we talk about a lot of investment, this is a more, you're talking 100, 200, 300 million pound investment possibly over the next couple of transfer windows to get the club back to being able to compete for top honours. And I feel like they realised that if they don't do it now, they've got a decision to make. Do they sell now and leave the club at a very high position and at a very high value? Or do they invest in the squad and hope to recoup that money on the value of the sale? And that is another risk. And what we've seen with FSG is they're a bit risk averse. So they're not going to invest on things in a club that is the most risky. And the most risky thing you can invest on in a club is players, because their performance dictates value. Whereas if you invest in a new training ground, you can evaluate and equate how much value that brings your club. If you invest in a new stand, you instantly know how many more bums on seats and tickets you're selling. That stuff is less risk adverse. So I understand why now that they probably did it, not today, but prior to the World Cup, because those fans are probably looking at it going, okay, well, perhaps nothing's going to happen in January. We're probably not going to hear anything transfer-wise for the summer. But I think a lot of us are like, okay, as long as we get the right investor in and they're going to invest into the squad, we're actually okay with that. There will be some fans out there that are a bit like, no, they should continue to invest. We can't fall behind. But I think a lot of fans are looking at it going, we now need to concentrate on what the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year plan is. We're willing to maybe give up a transfer window and 100, 200 million pound investment. And that's probably why they've done it at this moment in time. They will also, and I'm not going to profess to be a financial expert, they will also look at the inflation rates, the value, at the power of the pound at the minute, or value of the pound, sorry, and they'll look at all the things. And I think if a lot of things just fall in place, I feel like it's ultimately just reached a point where they're like, if we're ever going to sell, now might be a really good window to do it. Instead of keeping hold of Liverpool, of course they want to keep hold of it. It's their flagship. It's their flagship for their whole investment group. But there will come a point where even their capabilities are really stretched. Now, I feel like this is just like an opportunity, a moment in time with all these different factors where it's like, yeah, we should maybe let go now and think about other investments elsewhere. Because I do think they'll continue to invest in other sports and maybe another club elsewhere in different situations.
Exactly, because they bought this an opportunity at a time, with the sole idea of getting as much return as they can on this, right? This is what they're about.
It's literally gone tenfold. It's what they bought it for 300 mil, and now it's what,
Yep.
3.58 bill. That is,
and as Cav says, everything makes sense in terms of the inflation rate, the interest rate, everything, the power of the dollar, the pound, the investments. As again, the investments off the field have been brilliant. Commercialization of the club is at an all-time high. Revenue, income. Now the fan base is only demanding investment in the team, as Cav says, and that is probably the most volatile investment you can make with regards to increasing the value of the team, because you can either buy a Naby Keita or you can buy a Andrew Robertson. You know, you can either spend 60 million on a dad and that's your 60 million wasted, or you can. So this is where it's volatile. I think Omar, it kind of just points, as we've all kind of gathered from the statement. Zuberi said the same thing as he came in. It kind of points to a strategic way of saying, talk to us, give us what we want, and we out of here. If you don't give us what we want, at least we've told you we're always in the best interest of Liverpool, and we're looking to do what's best for Liverpool, but also what's best for them, which is £4 billion. I'd say circa £4 billion, right?
Is that, yeah? I would be saying. So initially, I was thinking, well, what did Chelsea go for? About £3 billion, I think that was the sort of value around Chelsea. There was a bit of complications there, but
Chelsea. Let's look. A lot of rumours and a lot of things. Chelsea were bought out for $2 million, right?
Yeah.
The 1.5 is based on revenue, income, forecasting, whatever. The main figure that we have to deal with in terms of comparison is $2 billion. We know Man United are valued at $4 billion. I'd assume and guess, I don't know what you guys think, feel free. I'd assume we're around Man United's valuation. Let's be real. And let's be honest
Man
about
United
things.
Probably would potentially go for $1 billion more than us.
Slightly, yeah. I agree with that.
Slightly. I was going for around 4 billion to. So my initial thought was 5-6 billion, but I think that might be too much. But yeah, around 4. I think FSG would probably hold out for around 4, because it sort of makes sense. But for me, like, just to follow up on Cav, it's like, it makes so much sense in terms of us now being and knowing we're at a stage where we need such investment in the squad again, and we need such a sort of push in terms of our financial. And look at the people we're competing against now in the Premier League. Like, it's a joke, right? FSG come in as probably one of the richest people in the Prem, and now, quite frankly, they're not. And like, for the ambitions of a club like Liverpool Football Club, I just think FSG have probably been smart and said, right, we probably can't match this in terms of like reinvesting in the squad and really going for it again. So now is the right time. Like, and then you come back to the fact that the pound to the dollar is almost 1-to-1. Like, I won't be surprised how much American investment comes into us just because of like that. And we know Americans like to sell to Americans. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I just think they've probably, like I said, FSG are super smart people, and they've probably hit like their ceiling, and they're saying, all right, we've hit our ceiling, right, now's the time to just move on and try and get our value, value for money, essentially.
I'm going to go through a few super chats before I get Zuberi's opinion on. I'm going to get up the Ben Jacobs thread, or not thread, a couple of tweets in terms of what he thought. Vex Blazer says, could be another Mike Ashley moment. The first time we need investment in the squad and we're for sale. Could be just tactics to not spend. I think Zuberi might have something strong to say about that. Have you? Before we move on, do you want to comment on this? Do you think the cynics will speak, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them weird ones, you know, where I hope it ain't so. You know, a lot of fans are screaming for investment. And what do you do when people need money, whether it's the family or a friend? You know, you give them.
You put your hands up and you say,
You know, so they can be like, no, you know, I would fix the car, but I'm selling it. You know, but
Dan, do you know what they
sell the
do?
car.
Do you know they go? You go, should we not do Christmas presents this year? That's
So it could be one of those for real. Hope it ain't. Hope it ain't. Hope it ain't.
I'll tell you what, Grizz, sorry to interject,
yeah.
but just on that point, if that is a ploy to not spend in January, Liverpool fans will not. That will not go over Liverpool fans' head. I tell you now, we'll get to the summer and we will clock onto that instantly. So that
they're picking on the wrong fan base to play silly games like that. So that's why I very, very much doubt that they will not ever do that. Nicholas Vargas says this is probably more realistic. Slightly more. I believe John Henry is ready to step away. He's 73. If a bid of over 3.5 billion came in, they would sell right away. I am of this opinion. Crimson Distress says, believe negotiations have started. Could be done by New York in time for January window. Chelsea only took London due to government sanctions. Here we go. Let's see. Who you sell to matters. Public ownership like Dortmund. Of course it matters. Absolutely matters, right? Who we sell to. A lot of questions being asked. Will they have the best interest of Liverpool at heart in terms of when they get to the stage? For example, will they do the due diligence on potential buyers as well as sort of the people buying them, doing due diligence on them in terms of, well, we went through a really rough patch, didn't we, with the Moors, Cav, where, you know, he could have sold us or he made errors and he regrets it. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on FSG in terms of will they consider who they're selling to and whatnot in terms of, it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's business.
I mean, without knowing them personally, obviously,
yeah,
or looking at their track record, I think it will go in this order. I think they will look at the best offers, and if the offers are of equal value, they will choose one that's the fans will like the most. But if there's an offer from somebody who we might not receive quite as well, I think they'll go take that option, because let's face it, we're not talking, you know, a tenner or 20 quid here. We're talking maybe hundreds of millions between these offers that come in. And I think there will be multiple offers. And I think they'll care to an extent is basically what I'm saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree, you know.
Okay, come with it in just 1 second. Hold that thought right there. Okay. With ambitious owners, we learn more about Klopp. I just hope Klopp stays. Klopp's a very man of great principle, people. So the ownership is very vital. You take Enos or Ratcliffe very quickly, guys. I don't know much about either.
Didn't he try to do Chelsea and then wasn't he the one looking for a consortium because he didn't really have, like, he's a very rich guy, but I don't think he has enough funds to sort of buy us outright.
I don't think there will be an outright one single owner anyway who will take over Liverpool Football Club. So for sure it's going to be a consortium of sorts or an investment fund, I'd say. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like a one owner like Abramovich coming in. I don't know at the moment, but I think it would be a collection. But what was you going to say, Zuberi? Sorry, you disagreed with
disagreeing with Cav when he said, you know, he'll think they'll have the fans or the club at heart. I don't think so. I think if they're going to walk away, what most owners do in America, once they get up to 70, 75, even the owner of my club, my company that I work with, he had like 6 jets, man. By the time he's 75, he just started like cutting them down. And he didn't really, he cared about one specific company. The rest of them was just kind of getting them by. Liverpool is probably the biggest franchise they got and also caused the most uproar. You know, like the other fans of the other team, they'll make noise. But in America, what we do in football now, we don't do that in America. Like, we never really come for the owners. We'll say things like, oh, man, you know, it would be nice to get an Mbappe, you know, in American terms, but we won't say, oh, but the owners won't spend, or we won't put it on the owners. We'll just say how we feel, keep it pushing. With Liverpool fans or football fans in general, we come for the owners a lot. We demand investment. We demand success from our club. And I don't think they've been dealing with that the right way over their tenure, because there's just been a lot of FSG talk out. It goes in and out, but I mean, we're talking no investment in January. It's gonna just boil over, and I think they'll just be happy to be done with this sort of headache with the Super League. Every business move they try to make, most fans are opposed to it because it's not the move we as fans want them to make. So it's like they're trying to broaden the portfolio, get as much money from us, and we're like, nah, we don't care about what you're making. We care about the success of the club. So we'll put a trophy over a Super League, and just keeping things authentic. They would think there's more money in a Super League versus keeping the squad and what's going on authentic.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Good points. Good points. I want to just bring it up to Ben Jacobs, who sort of reminds us of how much we were bought for. So he says FSG bought Liverpool for 300 million. Their Forbes valuation is now 3.5 billion. And that is significant because that is what is taken into consideration when negotiations start. They are both US and MENA-based consortiums. That means like the Arab and USA. Based consortiums actively considering a purchase. At this price, weak pound means those with dollars would pay 4 billion instead of 4.4 billion a few months ago. Someone asks him, are they not only looking for shareholders? He says yes and no. They're open to the right offer, which is what we said, which could mean shareholders or a sale. It's a PR way of saying that they will consider all options without quite admitting they want fully out, which they genuinely don't unless an attractive offer is made. Pretty much what we kind of said, right, Kev? It's just makes sense the way they've worded it.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I think like the thing that comes on a lot of fans' minds, which I'm sure we'll come on to, is what type of investor is going to take on Liverpool. Is it going to be somebody that wants them just to say they've got them and to be a bit of a a flagship for them, a bit of a look at what I've got?
Yeah, a show of peace, a kind of ego almost.
Yeah, and typically, well, as we've seen in recent history, those guys aren't necessarily, well, they come from the US and further afield, or there is the option that somebody with less of that financial backing behind them comes in and tries to push them further, but that seems pretty unlikely at this stage, be it that Liverpool are almost at the very, very top with everything that they're doing off the field. So you're looking at people that are support Liverpool, which is unlikely, or you're looking for somebody to come in and, like you say, just it be their showpiece. And then the questions start to get asked about morality and how much they their background, and then how they will treat Liverpool and how they'll treat the fans, and will they show us and represent us in a positive light in the way that we want to be represented. I think the thing with Liverpool that's different to every other club is like a lot of what happens off the field, and a lot of our fans, like I feel like we consider so much more about how we're presented and like how we're treated, and not to talk about the disasters of the past, obviously, but we always like to recognize that stuff and give it its what's the word? We don't want to dismiss it. We want to cherish what we have, and we want to honor those, and we want to respect the certain people in this club. And I don't want new owners to come in and concentrate solely on football and disrespect what's gone before. And that is probably the question mark that I think the fans have got. Two things: investment in the squad, and then how it looks and how we're treated by the by the owners. And that's the kind of questionable thing, because people with this amount of business now and financial success don't necessarily look at the moralities and how they treat people in the best light. So it will be interesting, but time will tell, because people take things in different ways. If you take the Man City owners, in a lot of respects, a lot of fans love what they've done for the football club, and a lot of fans love what they've done for the city, and they're willing to overlook other things. Whereas I feel like a lot of Liverpool fans might not quite be so accommodating. So who takes over is huge, not only financially, but as I say, how they treat the club off the pitch.
Can I just add on to Cav? Like, I completely agree because Liverpool has a set DNA and sort of personality. And
Go with DNA. You're right. Yeah, there you go.
That is there. For me, when I think for the first time in our history now, we're probably at a stage where whoever is our owners, if you're buying a club for 4 billion, when you look at the morals, I don't think anyone, quite frankly, is ever going to be morally clean. And I just think that's the frank nature of it. Now, obviously, I don't want to go. I have my like sort of own opinions on who I want to be owners, who I don't want to be owners. I'm not going to go into that. But I think we were bought for 300 mil by FSG. Fair enough, sports back company, whatever. But now we're talking billions, and when we talk billions, we talk sort of different sort of personalities trying to come into the football world, and that's just the fact of the matter. And I agree. Whoever comes in has to consider the sort of DNA and value of Liverpool as a club, as a city, whatever, because it's a very special, unique identity that it has. Whatever comes on, I'm with Cav. It's like whatever comes on, that just needs to be considered. Whatever happens from then on, whoever takes over, I don't think anyone. I think whoever comes in, there's going to be questions about them, quite frankly, and I don't think that's absurd to say. And it's just the way it is. The Premier League is such a highly valuable product now. The top 5, 10 clubs, whoever, they're going to end up being owned by these massive PIFs, whatever. So we have to be prepared for that. But then equally as fans, and I think people of that ilk trying to buy us will still be smart enough to know, right, these football clubs, their fans, they care about their club. So they still need to get it right. They can't come in and try and destroy everything because they will be hounded, right? Football fans are not afraid to hound their owners.
We've seen it. We've seen it, haven't we?
Harry said, in America, it might be slightly different, but here, owners take a lot of the brunt of the criticism, and that's just how it is. So I think the fact that the fan base and the city and what a club means to the fans is so important means that there will be some sort of deterrence to people coming in just to sort of use the club instead of trying to develop and improve the club.
Guys, there's nearly 1,100 of you in here. Smash a like for us. Let's get this conversation hot and spread all over the algorithms of YouTube. It helps. So just hit that like button. A couple of super chats and a couple of comments. This is Eunice. Shout out to Eunice, Chelsea fan. He says, so this is what he means. Welcome to the Finding New Owners Club, lads. Lol, it's not easy at all. We need an owner with a strategy and a plan on how they want to run the club from the get-go. No learning on the job. That's a very, very good point, isn't he? We all know FSG took years to learn and make mistakes.
Yep.
And then get it right and then make mistakes. And now possibly having enough of making mistakes and want to sell. It's a cycle. It's normal. It's life. Nothing lasts forever. Good owners, bad owners, good coaches, bad owners. But how would you describe it, Zuberi? Is it exciting for you, or is it nervous for you, or is this worrying? What is it? Because this could be anything.
Yeah, and I'm a definition of agent of chaos. I like these things, man. I don't like the smooth sailing. I like challenges. You know, I think life without challenges is dull. And FSG has brought a set of challenges with it, you know, as far as being a Liverpool club owner, and they're learning on the job. They came with no football knowledge.
Absolutely.
That's a big challenge, you know. Big challenge. They got the right football people in and turned us into a force to be reckoned with. One of the most feared teams in Europe, you know, and now they're on the back end of that. It's a new challenge. Can we go again, or is this where we cash out? Because they came in low. We're at a how high can they really push the value of Liverpool? You know, so
it's true. How high can how can the valuation go, guys? That's a very, very
so for
true
business, man, you have to be looking at all these challenges. Because like Cav said, do they inject a bunch of a couple 100 million into the club, and then that's a big risk. That is the biggest risk in football, bringing in players in, because if they don't turn up, There's nothing you can do about that. We're talking your carriers, your nabbies, ox, just people that you won't really get that value back for. We're talking about being a destination club. That's another challenge that comes with a destination club. Players come and end their career here. So you're spending big money for them, and all you're getting back is either merchandise sales, and they're just going to retire. You're not going to sell them back for a bigger wage or a bigger fee. So these are the challenges that comes with it. So the new guy that comes in, it's going to be an interesting one because who is out there that's waiting to own a club that knows exactly how to run a club and just never had that opportunity. We don't know these people. We don't know their agenda. We don't know if they're coming in for the great business, if they're coming in for the love. I would love to buy Liverpool. Do I know how to run a club? No. So these are the things like that Chelsea fan said that we have to take into consideration and consider. We don't want another FSG coming in. And would we take an FSG that has money that's just buying up all the wrong players? My biggest thing is we've had issues with clubs bringing in players of low quality. There's also an issue, man, you had with bringing in players of high quality that just disrupts the whole team and manager. So it's a weird one, and I welcome this challenge. I'd love to go on a new ownership to see what that would be like. You know, sometimes change is needed, and let's be honest, as Liverpool fan, we've been calling for change in the squad, particularly for a long time. So if we can't get the change in the squad, some people are asking for change in the managers, others are asking for change in the owners. I always welcome change. So if this is change in ownership, bring it on, you know?
Before you go, Kev, a couple of super chats. He says, Ash says, I can see Al Maktoum being interested again. Also, Mukesh Ambani, India's richest man, reportedly interested last year. I don't think Ambani has any interest in Liverpool Football Club. Just want to put it out there. Pixelated Pigeon says, what does this potentially mean for Klopp, bearing in mind what he said in the past about certain ownerships? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if people are turning a blind or a casual eye to this in terms of, as long as we get new owners, loads of money, who gives a fuck? That's up to you. But I tell you now, you will lose Klopp. You lose Klopp with certain.
Klopp doesn't like the owners, he will go. 100%. If he doesn't like the owners, he will go. He'll walk.
He will never stay for owners that he doesn't agree with in terms of their vision for the club. That's what I'm saying, guys. Before people jump on my back, I've got to make sure I try to make clear what I say here, because you know how it is on social media. They construe your point and argument. I'm not saying Klopp will want squeaky clean, morally correct owners. I am not saying FSG are any of that. What I'm saying is Klopp is a man of principle and standard in his personal life and his managerial life as well. You can look at the clubs he's been at and how he speaks about bigger institutions that don't appeal to him. That doesn't mean to say he's not willing to work for a more, I don't know, what's the word? More wealthier owner, ambition. I don't know if that's the right word to use in this scenario. What I'm saying is Jurgen Klopp is a man of principle, and he would not work for an owner that the principles of Klopp and the owners don't match. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying morally squeaky clean, because as Omar says, you're struggling to find any morally, politically correct billionaires. You just are. That's the harsh fact of reality of life. Unfortunately, we can only speak on it, whatever platform we're on, whether it's huge, whether it's small, but we can't change it. We've struggled to change it. It's the way the society works. That's why I wanted to make clear before people start saying, oh, so are you saying Jurgen Klopp is the only one who's right? No, I'm just saying what I said. I thought I had to make that clear. Do we believe the weekly wage structure will change? Mate, God knows what will change, what not. The next year or so will tell us a lot, I guess. And it's the next year, right? This is like a 6-month minimum process now to see where we're at, what we're at. Amir says, owners come and go, managers come and go, players come and go, fans remain. Whatever happens, you never walk alone. Absolutely.
I love that comment.
That's exactly what Zuberi is all about. I mean, what now? I guess the next question is, it does lead to what kind of owners do we want? What kind of interest are we attracting? What do we want as a fan base? I don't know who wants to go first on that. Have you got any personal opinions that you want to, in a direction that you want to take this conversation? The next one.
Let me tell you the owners I want. I'm not in Liverpool, and I think this is something FSG missed the trick with. When you take over a club or any company, you have to be invested in that community as well. Like your presence have to be there. People have to be able to feel you and understand, like, nah, man, this guy is from ground all the way up. I don't think they did the ground all the way up thing. I don't think they have that connection with the fans. I would want an owner to come in and everyone can get behind the owner. You see how Klopp came in and he was like, I'm going to turn doubters into believer. I need a owner that can galvanize the fan base, not just run the financial aspects of it and the transfers and all that stuff. Let the fans be proud to say that is my owners. I say it in a joking manner, but that's what I want. I want an owner that can come in and I'm putting up on my status. Like, yeah, this is my owner. Liverpool, just the whole board. I don't want to put up Klopp and the players and be ashamed to put up my owners because of their, backroom staff dealings or whatever. And even if they have some dirty money, as long as they're doing right by my club, I'm comfortable with it. I just need an owner I can put up on my status and say, that's my owner, and proud to stand behind them. I don't want to be tearing them down next week and then loving them because of the transfer the next week. I want someone we can really get behind.
Holmes?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think you've got to consider all your stakeholders. It's right, you've got to look after the community, but you've also got to think about larger like an institution like Liverpool Football Club. It's global, right? It's an international fan base. No word of a lie. So I think I liked FSG from a sporting perspective, and I think they tried to do good in terms of the training ground, the stadium. They put the right people in the right places, no doubt. I just don't think they had the financial capability to go again with us.
I think what it was. Look, I think they bought it. No, I know they bought it. That it was an absolute bargain at the time and a situation, and they assessed everything around it, the financial aspects, the growth aspects, and also one of the major factors in them going for it was the financial fair play aspect of things. They knew that they're buying something that is 300 million, is possibly going to rise to, I don't even know if in their wildest dreams they thought it's going to rise to 4 billion. But let's just say they thought 300 million, this will rise to a couple billion easy, right? And also financial fair play will protect us from competition. In essence, that's what financial fair play was supposed to do. Try to make it a level playing field. Once financial fair play has been, let's just call it how it is, abused, they knew, or they know now, that they don't have the financial means. Because what's happened now is they've elevated us to super club status, yet they haven't got the financial wealth of a super club owner. Is that fair to say?
100%. Yeah. And I think the best thing they've done is probably just admit that. Because
they've admitted it, kind of, haven't they, really?
They could have tried to cling on to us because they know the value of us. But I think maybe John Henry's age, this sort of thing comes into it where they're like, yeah, we've sort of maxed out. And I kind of appreciate that from their perspective, because it was getting to a stage where you could just see a widening financial gap between Liverpool and the teams they're competing against. And it's no shame on, and like Liverpool are a rich club, like FSG are rich people and they've invested money, but then you look at stuff like net spend and the ambitions of the club. Quite frankly, you need the money to compete now, and that's football. And it kind of sucks because FFP has been so useless, but that's the way it is. And so if they can't compete with the likes of Man City, soon to be Newcastle, or Real Madrid, Chelsea, all these teams, then sell when you can. Sell when your stocks are still kind of up. And then,
they very much also, yeah.
You've turned Liverpool from administration, pretty much administration in 2010, into winning everything, putting the right people in the right places, getting Klopp in, getting players like Salah, Mane, Van Dijk, all these guys in. Fair enough. you're here now. You're I wouldn't say you're here, but your value in terms of what you've done for the club will be seen in a positive light. If you start dragging it on, that's when it starts to get a bit problematic. So I think it, like I said, they're wise people. They know where to cut their losses, and they're doing it at the right time.
They are absolutely, Cav. Welcome to Kadar Ali, who's become a channel member. Big up yourself, my friend. Look, there's going to be so much debate, isn't there now, of what kind of ownership. The moral questions will be asked. The journalists will have their own agenda. Chelsea-based journalists will say one thing. Then you'll get a Man City journalist, or not even a Man City, but one is on the payroll of Man City, because this is how it works, people. Stop being naive. Mouthpieces, as they will be known, or as they are known, will be writing article and investigation on any potential owner that Liverpool get now. So, for example, let's just say a Chinese consortium comes in, there will be sort of research and all kinds of investigations done on this. This is it, though, isn't it? This is what, when you want new owners of a £4 billion asset here, this is what you've got to take as a fan base now. And these questions will be asked now, won't they? Left, right, and center. I mean, I don't know how you deal with it. I've always struggled. So you just keep quiet and watch the game on the pitch. Because what else can you say or do?
Yeah, and I'm not sure about you guys or the guys in the chat, but I'm a little bit fearful of who's going to take us over, because like everybody thinks that because of sports washing, across not just football, but other sports now, that there's going to be
every sport. The thing is, because football's our bread and butter, our life, our love, the love of life, we only focus on that. Sports washing and money laundering and money washing is happening everywhere, people.
Yeah.
Everywhere, in every institution.
Yeah. And just very simply for people that don't understand it, I'm sure everybody does, and I'm no expert, it's the fact that the people, these Saudis and what they're mega rich because they sit on oil and they sell oil, but with renewable energies and global warming and all this, the value of oil is dropping, so they have to put their money somewhere else that's sustainable, and sports is a sustainable industry to put your money into. So that's why you start seeing all these boxing fights over in Saudi Arabia now, and you start seeing these investors come into the Premier League and what have you. So everybody thinks that, well, not everybody thinks, sorry, but a lot of people are hopeful that, we're going to get one of these owners and they're just going to pump all their money into the club, and we're going to sign all these big players and it's going to be great. The fear for me is that might not happen. What you might get is somebody, FSG, selling to almost another FSG, and you get owners that, yes, they have money and they might invest initially, but do they have the football strategies that are going to be right for our club? I.e., Michael Edwards has been at our club and been part of that sustained success. Julian Ward hasn't yet proved it. So is he still the right man? And if he is, do they keep him on or replace him? Klopp is another massive factor as well. We need to keep hold of Klopp in whatever we do, because money alone and signing players alone will not give you success. You have to have good recruitment, a good manager, a way of playing, a style, everything else to go with it. And I don't want these naive owners to come in and just think chucking money at this club's going to work. I need that strategy and right bodies in place behind Klopp as well as having him. And that's why I wouldn't necessarily like somebody like the Chelsea owner, Todd Bowley, because he goes out and he just at the minute just signing players like it's Football Manager, and it doesn't work. You have to build a team, you have to have a strategy, a plan, you have to have a style of play and sign the players to fit that style of play. And it can't just be for one season; it's got to be for like the years ahead. So I need people that come in with, yes, they can have all the money in the world, but they need to make smart footballing decisions. Like I said, one of them being keep hold of Klopp, and if Julian was the right man, keep hold of him. But there is a risk that owners come in and they seem to have loads of money, and people will do their research on them and be like, oh yeah, cool, they've got loads of money, maybe not the richest people in the world, but enough to invest in the club. And suddenly what you start to see is they invest in the wrong ways and the club actually goes backwards, because we all talk about the club being up here. Well, there is only one way to fall when you're up here. So they either sustain where we're at, we fall because of bad investment, or we get owners that are just like every football fan's dream, and they just chuck money at it. You sign all the best players, and you're successful regardless, because you genuinely get the best players in the world. It can go either way, which is why this is a little bit scary, because at this moment in time, like, we are at the top. I know this team needs a bit of investing, but we've enjoyed some real successful years over the past 5-6 years, and I'm a bit worried that the wrong owners are going to come in and be a bit naive, and we start going the other way, because it can work both ways. But I think the thing with Liverpool being up here and having the training ground in place and the stadium right and a good squad, one that needs investing in a little bit, because the club are very here and they're a global brand and they have a fan base across the world. I feel like, you know, owners like the ones that took over Man City, like took over Newcastle, they'll look at Liverpool and go, yeah, great, that's where we can put our money. And hey ho, it's a big showpiece for us. So that's why I think Liverpool be a real good proposition to them. A lot of fans will say, no, won't they take on a club like Newcastle that they can buy it much less, that have a good fan base and they can build it? But I don't think they necessarily want to do that as such, or some of them don't want to do that. But if you could buy the ready-made article because you're only interested to say I own it, then, and put your money into it and hold your money in that club for 10 years, say, I feel like Liverpool is the perfect place to do that. So there'll be a lot of interest, there'll be a lot of suitors. What I don't think we can do as fans is just get excited and think that new investment means new money and a lot of money will be successful, because that money don't always breed success. And all these men are very intelligent businessmen, don't get me wrong, but football at this level is elite. Like, it's different, not different level, but it's different. They wouldn't have made their money in football. They'd have made their money elsewhere. So to try and apply that in football might not necessarily work. So that's why I'm a little bit fearful as to what might happen. The only thing, like I say, the only investor that could come in and you go, yeah, this is going to be sound regardless, is if you literally get like a state-owned, you know, investor, or you get like a Man City or Newcastle type. But anything less than that, there's a big element of risk, regardless of how much money they have.
Risk, danger, apprehension, excitement. Zuberi, which is the best adjective to describe you right now with this news before we wrap it up? Guys, there's over 1,100 of you people in here. What a fantastic stream it's been. If everyone could smash a like, that would be amazing. And I don't know how I feel, to be honest with you. It's a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of everything. And Cav's made some points. This could go tits up, as they say. This could go very wrong. This could go very right. I think there is apprehension from sections and there's excitement from sections of the fan base. But again, we're left as a fan base in the powers beyond our control. Our future lies in people we don't know what their intentions are right now. Do you get it? Like, what can we do? We can go on our platforms and speak on it, give our opinions on it, but our fate, not our long-term fate, but it could be long-term fate actually. Our fate is going to be decided by basically John Henry and Kall, who will decide what they want to do and who they want to sell to, right? And that's quite nerve-wracking.
You know, one of the biggest things I always use to defend FSG and that slot me in with, oh, he's an FSG lover, is people always talk about they can't keep up with the likes of Newcastle or Man City. They don't have the funds. No one really has that funds sitting anywhere not making interest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the assets, where you put your assets. It's not about they can't. It was always a matter of they won't. They won't take that risk. It always came down to risk. Are they willing to risk a model they have? It's not about they can't do it. They can do it. They just won't take the risk. So the new owners could very well come in and go, yeah, you know what? We've seen what you guys did by not taking these risks. We're not going to take them either. That's literally just a lateral movement in ownership. When people say new owners, they just always hope for the best. And there's nothing wrong with being hopeful, we'll get like I said, a Roman Abramovich that can just lend the club over $1 billion and be like, you know, you ain't gotta pay me back. There's not a lot of those people in the world. Let's just put it out there. And even if you get a consortium together, when we're talking about investment and investors, there's something called ROI, return on investment. Not a lot of these investors are just going to waste their investment into something that's not profitable. We've went from 300 mil, now we're in the billions.
Which investor will invest?
Where are we going from here, Grizz?
Exactly.
Are we going to be the first football club to go from 4.5 billion, whatever it is? Are we going to worth 20 billion now? Are we going to be a football club that's worth 20 billion?
Football clubs will go that way, though.
I'm not saying they don't, but I'm just saying, is that where we're going to go?
I'm scared as well, guys, because there is a chance that this happens, right? It's not beyond the realms of possibility that people buy the club knowing that the club's pretty sustainable and makes loads of money, and they actually take money out of the club. You know, United do it.
These are the things that people are oblivious to. See, if you can, this is where sections of the fan base and huge sections and rising sections of the fan base are oblivious to, because again, all they want is players. Is new players.
Hey.
I'm sorry if I'm simplifying it, but some of you are like that and accept it and deal with it.
And that's why I took.
Some of you are like that. Yeah. You have absolute zero idea. If you're offended, switch off now, unlike if you've liked. But I'm not going to sit here and not speak my mind. No, but Cav, it's true though. They literally don't have no understanding of anything else apart from we want Mbappe. But the good thing, sorry, very quickly. Yeah. But what Zuberi and Cav have said, I want to just bring the positive side to that. I'm not saying you guys are being negative, but you're being real. But the positive side to that would be seeing how FSG have operated and saying we've got the power to tweak it a little bit. And so Jurgen Klopp, what he spoke about a couple of weeks ago, guys, about being a bit more less risk averse. Maybe we could, and hopefully this is my plan. I'll finish it on my idea. Hopefully we can find owners that see the system, understand it, or implement or put people in charge. And I'd like to say our structure is brilliantly already organized anyway. Mostly, we've had a bit of mishap in the last year or two. Maybe just tweak that a little bit and have that bit more risk. Take that bit more risk, and then we're on a winner. I'd say all parties are a winner. That's just my opinion. Oh, I'm sorry, I butted you in.
I was just saying. I think I think in every fan base, it can be seen as very just, we support this club. We're not affected by the club's decisions, right? All I want for myself is for the club to win, so I can go and brag to my other mates that we've got the best players, we've got the shiny new toys, we've got all the new trophies. But there are people like that will be impacted by this. Like the city of Liverpool matters to Liverpool Football Club, right? That if you get owners in that just are completely oblivious to that, as Zuberi touched on, which is probably, I agree, FSG's biggest mistake, which is why there was so much like sort of criticism of them, especially around the Super League and all these sort of things. It does have an impact on some people. So you have to sort of look from a more selfless perspective and say, right, we all want the best players, we all want the trophies, but still you've got to take a certain amount of care with what you're doing as an owner. And I think I think FSG would be selling. I don't think they would be completely negligent in who they sell to, which I'm kind of happy with. That's just off my own hunch. I think they would sell to people that would sort of have interests. I wouldn't say best interest, but the interests of the fan base there, not turning up and saying, all right, we've got Liverpool as a name, whatever, now let's just throw money at whoever and just see how it goes, basically stab in the dark. Because then I echo Cav's exact feelings where I'm like, oh, this could go tits up, because you're here, you could fall, you could rise, you could fall. I think one thing we do have for us is we do have the Liverpool name, we do have that sort of history and the depth to the club where we will always be a absolutely massive institution, but then it doesn't mean it will be plain sailing. Like, look at the discontent United have with their owners. Look at everything going on there. Like, it's not plain sailing. So yeah, there's so much more that needs to be considered, because you can't just automatically assume, right, let's get the richest person ever who can afford us right now, and they'll automatically turn us into, one, the best football team in the world, and two, a football team that looks out for more than just what goes on the pitch, essentially.
Yeah, look, all great points. I think we're going to wrap it up. I think we've given as much opinion of ours we could give right now with what we know, with what is out there. I don't think there's much broken since we've been on live, guys. I hope you guys have been sort of keeping up with track of events. But my man Cecito says, I think FSG will sell wisely. I personally think so too. I don't think they will be, what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Like, sort of so careless. I think very important for them how they're seen as owners in terms of how they go out. You know, that thing Klopp always talks about in terms of, you know, leaving behind impressions of what kind of owners they were. And if they leave us in good hands, I think overall it's fair to say they will have been successful owners of Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's much doubt. If there is, we can have a chat about it. We'll have a show about it. Appreciate the good words. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. All the lovely words and kind words. It was just an impromptu steam. Cav was in the gym. Zuberi just woke up. And Omar just had not a long weekend for the first time. So Monday suddenly became alive. And we thought, let's get it on. But yeah, it's been great. It's been great. As I said, no one knows exactly what is going to happen now. It's a mixture of all the emotions. I guess the timing makes sense as well, what we've touched upon, because now we can sort of get that Southampton game out of the game. I know we got Derby. Get that Southampton game out of the game. And then let's just see what lies ahead. Thank you, guys. Thank you, people in the chat. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't liked the stream, please like on your way out. And we will see you tomorrow with a preview to the Derby game, the small matter of a football game.
It feels insignificant now, doesn't it?
Absolutely feels insignificant. But peace out. Take care. We out of here.
Thanks,
man.
guys.